If you forgot that the Mary Sue still existed in 2025, I'm just as surprised as you are to see this headline on their website. The Harry Potter series has some great casting. If only they could get rid of J.K. Rowling. So they're hoping that we can get an HBO Harry Potter series without J.K. Rowling attached to it. That is obviously not going to happen. They're like, we love where you're going with this. We love that Severus Snape is black and all of the casting snafus you've run into so far, but we need you to disassociate from the creator of the story for us to get fully on board with this nonsense. I feel like they're losing everybody now. Yeah. Like, they've lost everyone. They've lost the common sense people who don't want Snape to be black, and they have lost the anti-common sense people who don't want men to enter women's bathrooms.
The thing that I thought was funniest about it, I don't know if you said your parents, like, you weren't allowed to.
It wasn't allowed. Yeah.
So what I thought was funniest was how both sides have framed the casting choice, like what this casting choice will mean. It was like the political right that talks about this stuff is focused on like how the Snape casting will make James look, meaning Harry's dad, who's like abusive and bullying towards James, whereas like towards Snape, yeah. And whereas the left are worried now that casting a black person as Snape is bad because it will make him, like they said, that he's evil, and that's just right for like a straight white dude.
Yeah, what the heck? Like, if he's evil, he shouldn't be black.
That's literally in the article. They're like, that's like prime territory for a straight white dude.
These are
so
some of the tweets. A black man is seemingly harassing a young white boy because he loved his white mom and jealous of his white dad. Yeah, this is going to go great. So they're saying that there are undertones here. Referencing what?
When casting
lynching?
Like, I guess this is because there's the scene where James hangs Snape upside down under a tree and like exposes so his robes fall down and humiliates him. You learn that. I think that's in the Half-Blood Prince that you learn about that one, but like the point is that takes on a whole different connotation now that there has been racialized casting.
Snape's character isn't all bad.
No. Well, Snape actually has.
Is it accurate to call him an anti-hero?
He's He's a flawed villain who makes a change for love.
Okay. So.
Like he's not a good guy by any sense of the imagination, even though he's working to help Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Like throughout the series, he treats them like absolute shit always. Like he never misses an opportunity to be awful to them. So calling him a good guy would be a stretch, but he's absolutely a layered character. But the problem is like when you talk about this before, there were no, undertones outside of the relationships between between the characters. So it was about James, Lily, and Snape, and the complicated relationship of James and Lily getting married and Snape being friends with Lily, but then, like losing to James, and then how that affected Snape's relationship years later with their son. And there was nothing racial. There was no undertones other than, the complicated emotions between all the characters.
Well, that's not what they're saying here. The take from the left is basically they don't trust the show's ability to nuance his character, and they think it's racist. They say one thing is undeniable: Snape in the books is wizard racist and misogynist. He quite literally is disgusted by Hermione because she is a mudblood, and he said the same thing about Lily Evans, a woman he supposedly loved. So the implications of them casting Papa Essiedu as Snape are messy at best.
But the problem is like the whole thing is like, yes, he said all that stuff, but ultimately the death of Lily, whom he did love, causes him to change his outlook and then take great risk by going undercover working for Voldemort.
They say Snape abuses a child because said child's mother didn't want to be with him. That's got white man written all over it. That's an actual quote.
Yep. Look, I've never seen Harry Potter, but if there were racial undertones in Harry Potter, I would watch it.
There are.
That would be sick.
It's an allegory.
There's allegory.
Of like
there's allegory
of like race
with
relations in America.
With like muggles.
Well,
You know?
they call
Is that a slur? Muggles?
yeah or no
Well, it's
mudblood is a slur.
Mudblood is a slur,
Ooh.
but Muggle is just like what they are if they don't have powers, right?
Yes.
I don't know, because I watched Harry Potter for the first time a couple of years ago. I also wasn't allowed to watch it or read any of it. As
Muggles
a kid, so.
Muggles just don't have Muggles just aren't wizards.
And they call them mudbloods.
Mudblood is a wizard that has one Muggle parent and one wizard parent, right?
or they don't have to
Or
wizard
neither.
parents at all.
No
They could
daughter
just-
mom's
So,
dating
like,
a
a wizard
mudblood.
born
Any
of Muggle
wizard,
parents.
any
Yeah.
wizard that like doesn't have two wizard parents
Yeah.
is a
Jeez.
mudblood.
Yeah. So those connotations are there.
So
Absolutely.
the wizards are the
You
Aryan
didn't-
race.
You didn't need to complicate it further by adding like, and to be fair, like we talked about this last time, like that type of race discussion is probably more heavily felt by U.S. audiences than audiences in other countries.
Right.
But this
like
is
the
more.
mudbloods
This is
like
what-
illegally emigrate and stuff, or
It's one of the reasons why racially homogenous casting was something that worked back then, because you didn't add more to the story than needed to be there, given the undertones of what happens when you cast differently.
But this is mostly about J.K. Rowling, and they're basically saying they're not willing to give the show a chance unless J.K. Rowling is somehow ditched by HBO.
I mean, they love that. They love that now when they talk about taking characters from comics that are 80 years old and changing them, and taking characters from books that are hundreds of years old and changing them. They don't actually believe that you have a right to your own art. They believe that, and a part of this is also because it's been so corporatized that, you know, you can make Rings of Power even though it's an abomination because Amazon owns the rights to the story, which is a completely separate discussion from whether it's actually doing justice to the author.
It's weird because these same people are like so against AI because they're like saying that it's taking from real artists and making their art into an amalgamation. And it's technically an infringement on their copyrights. But in the same breath, they would say J.K. Rowling has nothing to do with Harry Potter and that it kind of belongs to the fans now.
Also, you did point out we saw this post here about who the inspiration for Snape was.
Look at this. This is a photo of John Nettleship,
Oh, hold on.
J.K. Rowling's chemistry teacher,
Yeah.
who was the inspiration for Snape.
Yep.
Okay.
Love that hair.
So he's not African. That's for sure.
I mean, nor were any of the drawings of Snape.
Yeah. So what's that about?
I also thought
Like, it's so needlessly divisive.
I also
Right.
thought this article was really funny where the Hollywood Reporter listed the 3 things that Harry Potter has to contend with in its creation. The first one was like, will people watch a TV show for something that's only for a set of movies that's only 2 decades old? I don't
Feels
think,
older than that.
2001.
I guess it's just because it's been like my entire life.
2001 was the first movie, but then by the time it's done, it's like 2012. So,
Yeah.
you know. The second one was, will people watch this after the Fantastic Beasts franchise flopped towards the end, which was like spin-offs of the franchise. And then they also reference Rings of Power and the fact that, you know, the Amazon claims the viewership for that is high, but we all know the truth that the viewership for that is not high. The other one is, this is the one I think is funniest, is they talk about how the most sensitive is, will viewers watch a show with the creator J.K. Rowling with her controversial anti-trans views when she's an executive producer? But they even point out, they're like, well, Hogwarts Legacy sold like a gazillion copies, so clearly it will, and Universal's Wizarding World does really, really well. Normal people don't know or care what her beliefs are.
Well, it's funny because she's barely even addressing what the developments are in this show.
She's too
doesn't
busy talking about
she's
Supreme
so
Court
busy.
decisions. And
She's so busy with her activism that she is not addressing in any way, shape, or form the absolute disaster that's taking place with the casting. And here's another recent post from her gloating with a cigar in her mouth about the UK Supreme Court making an official definition of a biological woman for all the UK.
Yep.
No, I met her like 2 years ago because I used to work on boats in New York Harbor.
Really?
And she had a yacht. And so, like, since I was a porter, we would bring stuff on her boat.
I want to give you props for making it like through an entire segment about this before you brought that up.
Why didn't you
Listen,
tell us?
you know who's like this is Ian. We would do whole segments about people, and Ian, after the show was over, would be like, I met that person.
Well, I was just thinking.
Remember
if I
Yeah, he would be like, I had a sleepover at Bill Murray's apartment one time.
Well, because I was thinking
that
about the
never happened,
mudblood
but-
thing. The mudblood thing was consuming my mind.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah.
Well,
that
what
lady.
interaction did you have, if any?
She's very standoffish. She's very.
She's British. Of course she is.
Yeah, but like she's a little too British, you know. You know.
I mean,
Were you like,
yeah.
oh, Mrs. Rowling, how's it going? And
Well, it was
she's-
like there was like 3 of us,
Okay.
and she didn't. She was like walking by.
she's like, don't look in my direct line of sight.
She was checking on like a specific package that was brought on. I don't know what was. In the
avert your
package.
gaze,
Yeah.
peasants.
And I was just like, oh, hey, how you doing? And she was like, kind of looked at me. She didn't respond. And she just kind of looked at me, and I was like, why?
Well, she kind of looks like she's on a yacht in this photo.
Yeah, maybe it's the
probably
same
her
one.
yacht.
Actually.
Dude, it was a $34 million yacht. I think she bought it from Ronaldo.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
some
got
soccer
money to
player.
spare.
Yeah. So she got a deal.
Not just that, though. There was also this, which was really interesting, which is now the cast, the people who have all been cast to play these characters in the new series, are making their posts about it, and they're realizing that it's not the anti-Snape people that are giving them crap. It's people saying, how dare you work with this woman when she's anti-trans?
It's toxic. Nick Frost, who plays Hagrid, posted a photo of himself with Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, saying, "Thank you for trusting me with such a loyal, gentle, and courageous half-giant like Hagrid. Robbie, I promise I won't let you down." And then, because there was a barrage of hate comments, he turned them off. He disabled comments on that post. But of course, they just went to his other posts where the comments were still on to speak their minds. One of them had a very manipulative statement. "You always were an artist I highly admired. Please think again if you want to get involved with that woman. You might lose a lot of fans with that decision."
Sure would be a shame if you were to, I don't know, lose some fans.
Like, I'm guaranteeing he doesn't care.
That's the definition of concern trolling.
I'm sure
right
he's
there.
getting paid handsomely for this project. It's 7-8 years long
Of work.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just getting to work that
That's amazing.
consistently is a big thing in that industry because it's all freelance work.
Tell me
So.
you wouldn't do it.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.